The bell that could freeze time. There once was a child named Nilo, who loved small things. Tiny things felt magical to him, like the way a teardrop could hold a whole sky, or how a firefly could blink brighter than the moon. He didn't need loud games or giant surprises. He liked the quiet kind of magic, the kind you almost miss if you're not looking closely. One windy afternoon, as golden leaves skipped across the sidewalk like playful spirits, Nilo met a traveler sitting beneath the old oak tree in the park. The man wore a coat that looked stitched from shadows and stars. Around his neck hung a necklace of tiny silver bells that chimed even when the wind held still. Nilo stood quietly, staring at the soft shimmer of one bell in particular, small, simple, and glowing faintly like moonlight behind a cloud. The traveler noticed. "Would you like to hold it?" the man asked, his voice like a memory wrapped in a smile. Nilo nodded. The man removed the bell and handed it to him carefully. "This one is different. It only rings once in a lifetime, when time itself needs to rest." Nilo blinked. "What does that mean?" The traveler's eyes twinkled. "It means you can ring this bell once, only once. And when you do, everything will stop. The wind will pause mid-sway. Laughter will hang in the air. Rain will halt in mid-drop. The world will freeze in its most magical moment, just so you can feel it a little longer." "Just once?" Nilo whispered. "Just once," the traveler nodded. "So choose the moment well." And just like that, the man stood and walked away, vanishing into the air like mist in sunlight. Nilo kept the bell hidden in a small velvet pouch tied around his neck. Days turned to weeks, and weeks into seasons. He almost forgot about it, until one evening, something happened. It was the village's annual lantern festival. Everyone gathered near the river, holding paper lanterns glowing with warm, flickering light. Nilo stood quietly, his lantern in hand, waiting. Then, as the drums began and voices lifted in a song of wishes, something shifted. A soft wind danced through the crowd. The trees glowed gold, the river shimmered like melted stars. And in that perfect breath of time, as the lanterns began to rise into the twilight sky, Nilo's heart slowed. One lantern, his sister's, slipped from her hand too soon. But instead of falling, it floated upward and brushed against his cheek like a blessing. The music swelled, and every single lantern lifted at once like a silent choir of light. Nilo's eyes filled with quiet wonder. This was it. Without hesitation, he reached into the pouch and rang the bell. Ting! The sound was barely louder than a breath, but the world stopped. Everything stood still. The music froze mid-note. Lanterns hung in the air, glowing like stars suspended in a moment of forever. A soft wind curved but did not move. Children's laughter paused like notes on invisible strings. His sister's eyes sparkled with joy, and stayed that way. And Nilo stood there, in the middle of it all, heart wide open. He walked between the lanterns, touched their delicate frames, saw reflections of wishes inside each glowing fold. He looked up and smiled. For the first time in his life, he wasn't in a rush to hold on to magic, because now, time had made space for it. He stayed in that perfect pause until his heart whispered, "Okay. I'm ready." And the moment let go. The wind moved again. The music sang. The lanterns soared higher and higher until they vanished into the stars. Nilo never used the bell again. He didn't have to. Because from that day on, he learned that every moment held a little magic. You just had to look closely enough to see it. And that, dear dreamer, is how a small bell and a small heart stop the world. Just long enough to remember how beautiful it is.